Hi guys, welcome back to the world of cinematics. We are here with you today with Aaron and Robert and Jed. How you guys doing?
Good.
Better now that Stefan is sleeping with the fishes.
Yeah. All right, that goes in line with the episode, so perfect. Robert, how you doing? Well, as you can see, we are talking about.
Oh my gosh, Robert, how could you?
Again, well, we could hear you.
Sorry, you couldn't hear what Robert just said.
I apologize. I unmuted
Yeah,
myself. Now the stream can hear me.
Okay. Well, Robert, how are you doing? Let everyone know how you're doing.
Okay. Should I do the voice again? Should I add the voice?
I don't know, man. It's kind of great.
The moment has passed.
The moment has
We've
passed.
Lost our time.
All right. Well, I think we should do more small talk. What do you guys think? Let us know down in the
I
comments.
think you've overextended your time.
Shut up! I will
Okay.
end the stream.
You said small talk. It's over.
All right. And sorry about that intro, everyone. Got some technical difficulties on Robert's side, and as well as the spoiler warning, we are not going to be talking about those shows. In fact, today we are talking about The Godfather. But first,
We are talking about a TV show.
Yes.
we are talking about a TV show, and that is Moon Knight. We weren't planning on talking about this, but we saw it, and we actually really enjoyed that first episode that came out last Wednesday. And I really liked it. What were you guys' thoughts?
I was like one of the things that makes me excited for a movie or a show or whatever is knowing the people behind it and saying like, oh my gosh, I love that this person did this, they made this. I had never seen like I forget the name of the showrunner, the writer. He did like Umbrella Academy. I've seen little bits. I know he's done some other stuff. Haven't seen any of it. One of the big directors on it, Mohammed Diab. Haven't seen anything of his. So there wasn't a whole lot for me other than I like Oscar Isaac. But I'm like, hey, I like Moon Knight in the comics. I'm gonna watch this, give it a chance. And it was so crazy. It was so much fun, but also it had some kind of dark stuff, like filling up a shoe with broken glass and walking around on it, or fantasy Minority Reports, and some pretty graphic violence for Disney Plus. It really grabbed me in that first episode. I can't wait to see the rest.
Yeah. Aaron, what do you think about that? You like it too?
Yeah. So there was a lot of comparisons that Jed brought up that he read from previous reviews, and I think it sums up pretty well. Is if you liked the Mummy movies from the 1990s with Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, you're gonna like this movie because if you like that Egyptian type of feel to it, adventure story, it has a lot of that. But if you're also a fan of Venom, you're also going to enjoy moments where it's very, very similar to the Venom movies. And the music choice, like Jed was saying, one of the writers was working alongside with Umbrella Academy, if you've seen that show at all, the music is always good. In fact, there's one song in particular in this episode that, as I was trying to fall asleep, it's what was playing in my head because it's just all I can think of. So, as far as relatability for me for Moon Knight, that's something I can relate to. It's just trying to fall asleep or not trying to fall asleep. And yeah, I think it was a very good first episode. I'm excited to see more, and I hope it continues to build off of it. Hopefully, it's not like some of the other Marvel shows where they had decent beginnings, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, this one feels very unique and different from even the movies, I would say. There's a lot more blood and stuff. I can't really think about another Marvel movie with as much blood on the fist of the hero.
Falcon and Winter Soldier had some, but
that's
not
true.
as much.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, a little bit there.
And I really enjoy, like, usually I love action scenes, but I really enjoy that we don't see them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's gonna kick their butts, but we don't have to see it. But we still know he's a bad man pajama.
Yeah.
Yeah, Robert, what were your thoughts?
You guys
All
pretty
right,
much
sounds good. Let's move on. Just kidding. Go on.
Nope. You made your point. You guys had a feeling for Stefan. I get it.
Who let Brendan host?
That was you, Aaron.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I volunteered as tribute. All right, Robert. All right, Robert.
In all seriousness, what did you think?
yeah,
There is no seriousness with you guys. For me, you guys pretty much said most of it, but this is the first time I've actually looked forward to watching a Marvel show like continually. For the best shows, like they're fun and all, but I'm like, I'll wait till the season's over and I'll watch it. But this one, I'm like, okay, when's the next episode coming out? I can't wait. So this is the first. I mean, I don't even know anything about Moon Knight, so it's got my attention. All right, that's it, Brendan.
One thing I wanted to add, just speaking about tone, like the action scenes, you barely see anything because, for those of you who don't know, this character has dissociative identity disorder, and I don't want to say a loser because he's very smart. He's a real sweet, kind guy, but he can't handle himself in a fight. He's not a superhero. But then he blacks out and wakes up, and there are people around him dead. And the way it's done, like the editing, the acting, it's hilarious. But it's also scary as crap.
Yeah.
And then there was a moment at the very end where you see this this jackal monster sort of thing hunting him down, and then you finally see Moon Knight for the first time. He transforms into Moon Knight. He kills this thing, and this moment I loved where you'll always see the good guys they're crawling away, they're screaming, this sort of thing you'll see like in horror movies a lot of the time. That's what you see the jackal do. So when you first see Moon Knight is when you see this terrifying monster scared for its life. This is the boogeyman that the boogeyman is afraid of. So it's just a little thing where it was a perfect cherry on top of that episode. I loved it.
Yeah, and just to build off of that, because there's the Marvel humor as described by a lot of critics, YouTubers.
Very quip heavy.
Very quip heavy. And the humor here is not quite like that. In fact, it's very much, matter of fact. In fact, there's a moment where, he's back into his own body. He's like, what the heck's happened? He's driving the truck backwards and he has a gun in his hand. And he's like, what do I do? And, he throws the gun. And this disembodied voice that's been commenting, similar to Venom.
Did he just throw the gun?
Exactly. Did he just throw the gun? He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, yeah, that would be most of us.
But it's not even like he's defending himself. He's just like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's very pathetic. Why do I even have this gun?
Exactly. And so I like that it doesn't go too quickly or kind of even a Taika Waititi type of humor, because there's a moment where he's talking to Marcus. Mark. Is it Marcus? Mark. And his other personality that's inside of him. And he's like, let me take over. And as he's starting to transform, the jackal attacks him, which, if not done carefully, could be seen as humor. But because it's so quick and intense and the music is building up and it's still building up and leading to what Jed was describing, where the jackal is trying to flee for its life, I appreciated that they didn't decide to go with the humor, because it would have been so simple for him to be transforming and, it doesn't work for a second or whatever. But they decided to make it very serious. And as far as I understand the character, which isn't much, he's very much a serious character, kind of a Marvel version of Batman, as it were.
Yeah, it's a cool show. We recommend it to all audiences out there, unless you're a little scared of a little too much violence. But it should be fine for anyone.
In some countries and territories, it was rated their equivalent of TVMA. I would assume because of the blood.
TVMA,
but I think the official cutoff for TVMA in our country is like 16 and over, and so for some of these countries it's like 14 and over or 15 and over, something like that. So it's a relatively hard PG-13.
Yeah. It's cool though.
Mhm.
I definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity,
Yeah.
when's the next episode coming out? Do you guys know?
Wednesday.
I think they're all released
Okay.
on Wednesday.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's cool stuff. I was not expecting it, especially with the marketing for it.
Marketing wasn't stellar.
I know nothing about Moon Knight almost. All I know is those fake comics where he says stupid things.
I want my money back, Dracula. I know you're an Avenger. I want my kid's money. Ketamine.
Yeah, whatever it's called. And or like I was in the military and they taught me to use anything as a weapon. Take this gun for example. I can use it as a bat. Whatever. It's just the stupid things.
Yeah.
So all I knew about him were just fake comics and and the trailers they put out, which weren't very good. I was honestly kind of disappointed by the trailers, but this first one was really good. I hope the rest is good. If we don't talk about it next week, it's probably because it's bad. So if that's all we're gonna say about it, we can move on to The Godfather. How's that sound?
I think it's
I'm excited to see future personalities from him. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. All right. The Godfather. I watched it the first time yesterday. Jed has seen it multiple times, I'm sure. Aaron watched it
Your second time?
second time. Robert, what's the status on Godfather?
First time.
All right, nice. Okay. What were your thoughts on that?
It's really. I see why it lives up to the hype. Like it really, or why it's all hyped up. It lives to it. Definitely a really good. I would put it in a tragedy
Yeah.
category.
100%.
Yes.
But I really enjoyed it. Did have a few laughs at probably not the right spots, but that's just because of my personality, and it was an old movie, so there was moments I was like, "Heh, funny."
It is
But-
an older movie, yeah, and you can see some of those little quirks from older movies there. Like one that Brendan pointed out yesterday was the editing in a few places a little janky, and part of that is because it's an older movie. But if you just look at it as like films before and films after, you see like every movie after was taking so much from The Godfather. Maybe not style of editing. I think style of editing became modern with the first Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was only like 5 years later.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like I texted you, Jed. I was like, this movie I hear referenced in like so many other movies, like just lines, maybe the like way a person is acting.
Yeah, Batman would not be Batman, any iteration of Batman without The Godfather. And, any gang movie. And, we wouldn't have Tarantino. We wouldn't have Scorsese. All these different movies we wouldn't have without The Godfather.
Right. I mean, even if you look at buddy cop
Oh, yeah.
films, Zootopia, obvious reference.
Mm-hmm. Tyson.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't even know if this is a direct reference, but the Megamind, the space dad, I know it's
Yeah.
probably referencing the Superman dad, but I can't remember what he sounds like.
Well, he's played by the same person.
Oh,
Marlon.
is he?
Yeah, that's Marlon Brando.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, I mean,
But that's why he sings like this.
You should be more like.
so he really sounds like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, I mean, that was a bit of a voice that he was
Yeah.
putting on, but I mean, if you go back and watch him in like Streetcar Desire or whatever, he's like, or On the Waterfront actually, it's like you don't understand. I could have been somebody, but now I'm a nobody. It's just kind of the way he talks.
Okay, I thought he was doing a voice.
A little, but
bit.
not.
Like, I thought he sounded in real life. I was like, he's probably doing a whole different
Nah.
voice. He probably sounds like a normal dude. But no, apparently he does sound kind of like.
Yeah, he kind of does
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah,
He was Trump before Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
no,
It-
we were actually saying that, but I was mimicking him earlier, and I was like, I sound more like Trump than The Godfather. And then
You-
they said, no. they're from
You
the
know,
same
going back to the Zootopia thing, I didn't realize. Like I knew it was a reference to The Godfather just because the way he was talking. I didn't
Yeah.
realize they were quoting the wedding scene
Yeah.
the whole time. I was like, this is hilarious. This is wonderful.
What part did you go through?
When they're being brought before the mob boss, the mouse.
Mr. Big.
I've only seen that movie once.
Oh, you remember the daughter is getting married? She's saying, Daddy, you can't do this. I'm getting married.
You come into my place on my daughter's wedding day.
Yeah.
That's a quote from The Godfather and Zootopia.
Uh-huh. Okay, something I want to touch on is the cinematography, because I'm a big cinematography nut. The cinematographer for this, I think his name was like, I should know this, like Harry Willis or something like that, George Willis, something Willis. He was called the Prince of Darkness because before this movie, most movies were really washed out. Everything's overly lit, very bright. The reason being is so that if it's being played at a drive-through, everyone can see what's happening. But it made it look really cheap. And so this guy, he said, no. I don't want this to look cheap. I want to bring my A game. I want to do something that no one has ever done. And so he used shadow in a way that no movie ever had before. One of the, other than just, indoors, how everything looks like it's from a Renaissance painting or something like that. But what he would do is he would decide how much light and shadow would be on a character's face, where, what parts of their face, and he would say different things about different characters like that. Like Sonny. Sonny has almost always shadows in his eyes, but everything else is very well lit. Because this means he has darkness in him, but he's too open. He doesn't hide things, which leads to a lot of tactical blunders. You look at Kay, Michael's beautiful wife. She's the best lit in the movie because she's the most innocent, she's the most pure, she's naive. And you don't really see shadows enter her face until the very last scene when I understand the kind of person that my husband is. And from that point, we won't talk Godfather 2 spoilers, especially since two of us haven't seen it. You see that it's not just her innocence is gone, she knows what her husband is, but you see the darkness has entered her too. It's in a really tragic way. So going off of that, what are I don't know, talk about the look of the movie. Talk about not necessarily like, oh, I like how the shadow said this about a character, but what did you like about how the movie looked?
I like that it looked like you said shadows. A lot of the shots seem like it influenced a lot of other movies, and especially like what's it called, Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I mean, that when I was watching The Godfather, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the Breaking Bad pacing wise. Because there's shots where you just watch them eating at a dinner table and somebody walks off to go answer the phone. They answer it. They talk to them on the phone. You only hear one side of the conversation. He says, okay, puts down the phone, walks back. That takes total of like a minute just to watch that whole scene, maybe a minute and a half. It's just like very slow pacing. And you see a lot of that in Breaking Bad. You see a lot of just like somebody getting in a car and driving to a corner and then looking out their window. And it's like not moving so fast, but you're still engaged for whatever reason. I don't know if there's like a style to this type of pacing, but it definitely, I was like, that's probably where they got this from.
Right, absolutely. And just kind of building off of that, I like the use of food. It's kind of subtle. And not just about the oranges. There's this kind of theory that every time you see an orange, something terrible is about to happen. And I watched, it's kind of true. It's a pretty good theory. But I also noticed that the use of food also showed the status of how a character was feeling. If everybody was feeling pretty calm and things are going well, they're going to be eating a lot. But if they're frustrated, they might be surrounded by food and not touch anything, which is very implications of real life. But it's not always the case.
Like the fight scene with Connie and Carlo, one of the things that sparks it off is she just made dinner because he just asked to make dinner, and now he's going off to see his mistress, and she can't take it anymore. She breaks. And all that food, she's throwing all the dishes everywhere. So yeah, I've never noticed that. That's really true. That's great.
Yeah, it's an awesome use there. Let's see. What's another thing that I enjoyed this viewing of? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts, Robert, from what you?
Yeah, I really like how they had the camera in a place to show emotion for each character. So to give an example, like Brendan was talking about, like the pacing for like cars going around corners and stuff. The way that they did it for, say, the son. What's the oldest son's name? Is he Sonny?
It's Sonny. Yeah,
Yeah.
his Christian name is Santino, but he goes by Sonny.
Yeah. So you see him pulling up. He comes up to the toll, and he goes to pay. He's like, "Come on, hurry up!" But you're like, okay, something seems like, why are they showing this scene? Just the way they have the camera placed, you're like, something bad is gonna happen. You can tell. Guy drops the security guard drops the clipboard, and you're like, oh no, oh he's got to get out of there, and he doesn't. Well, he becomes a saint.
Yeah.
And then along with that, like literally right after that, not literally right after the scene, but a little bit after that scene when the Godfather goes to the morgue. Is it the morgue you went to?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to the morgue, and the way they had the camera placed and they had him looking at his son, just that angle, because it gives you the shadows and it gives you the facial expression on the Godfather. Like, he actually does feel sad that he lost his son. Granted, he knew, later find out, like, yeah, I knew he was an idiot, but
At dawn.
yeah, but it was his son still, which was awesome.
Yeah, as what you said about the camera and how it focuses on the emotion. That was something that the cinematographer really wanted to do. He wanted to make sure that every single shot was somebody's perspective, not necessarily that that's what they see, but every shot when we're watching, like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing what Tom Hagen sees, even though I can see Tom Hagen in the frame, or I can do this, I can do that. And there's only like 3 shots that aren't from that perspective. And Coppola, the director, really had to fight for those 3 shots. And his argument that he used to convince the guy was like, well, this shot is from the perspective of God, and an overhead shot as you watch Vito Corleone be gunned down in the street, or that opening zoom shot where you start on Buenos Aires face as he says, "I believe in America," and that long shot where he slowly zooms out until you're over the Godfather's shoulder. This is like from the perspective of America, I think it was that you said. This is America and immigration in America. So there's a few different shots like that, but for the most part, it is you are in this movie. You feel like one of these characters, and a lot of that is because of the shots choice. It's brilliant. All right,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, it was revolutionary, and you see what a lot of movies started trying to do that. A few have done it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about some. I see in this movie there's kind of 5 main characters, and let's talk about our thoughts on them. First off, the Godfather himself. Let's talk about Vito Corleone. I know, Robert, you said you were surprised to see that he was kind of a good man, even though he was this terrible evil man. What do you think about Vito?
He came off. So I used to compare, like, because Aaron, Stefan, and I and Brendan, we all went to the same high school, and you had these guys who like say they were gangsters and stuff. And even though I haven't watched The Godfather, I know a little bit. I knew enough about it where I was like, and I'm a history buff too, so I was like, these guys, they don't understand. Like, gangs back in the day, they had authority. Like, the mobs were the gangs. And watching this, like, you see that this guy has standards. He has a moral code. But at the same time, he's a businessman. He's a family boss. So I see, like, even though he's doing all these really corrupt, like, illegal things, he still had some moral values to him, which made him such an awesome character. Because it gives you that, what's the word I'm looking for? Complicated emotions for him, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, that's for something for me, because hot take, I'm not a huge fan of the film. I even said that after the first viewing. I was like, it's okay, but for me, not my favorite. I can see why people like it. But with those complicated feelings, kind of the only character that I really liked or felt empathy for was their sister, and that was about it. Everyone else, I was like, yeah, you could die, you could die, you could die. I wouldn't feel so bad. And but you're not too far off. He has a medieval sense of chivalry. The second time viewing, I was like, okay, if he is like a king, and this is his kingdom, then he's being attacked by other kingdoms and things. Okay, then then it's easier to view it from that point of view and get on his side. But because we live in America and we have already our sets of governments, this feudal system doesn't work for us. And so it's very interesting to see those complications, because as far as kings go, he's really not the worst guy out there. But as far as criminal society within an established government, he's just as bad as anybody else. So I understand those complicated emotions there.
Yeah, this talk about him being the king, it comes from a Coppola quote where he described this movie as the story of a king and his 3 sons and the issue of succession. You can see how each one of the sons took something different from him. And keeping that in mind as I was watching this, you really see how Vito is such a 3-dimensional character, and that he does have all these seemingly contradictory, character traits that each one of his sons will take different ones. He has at times he has the kindness and gentleness of Fredo. He has the passion, the anger of Sonny, but he also has the calculated, the strategic mind of Michael. He's willing to do anything, but that doesn't mean he will do anything. He has standards. He has rules for himself. He won't do certain things like, will he kill a man? Sure. But he he will do it honorably. He will do so after giving them a chance, or it'll be because they've done something wrong. He's the epitome of there's business and there's personal. I will not let them interfere with each other. He won't get angry to say, oh, we have to do this. But he also won't say, hey, look, I understand you killed my son, but look, we killed your son too. Let's put this all to rest. We can forgive each other. Because I can't bring, vengeance won't bring my son back. Vengeance will bring yours back. From a personal, side, why would you do that? He killed your son. But from a business side, you realize this will only cause more death. This needs to stop now. And so yeah, I think Vito is a very interesting, complicated character.
Yeah, I agree. He's very cool. Out of everyone that should be in charge of the gang or whatever, out of
The
him,
family.
yeah, out of the family, out of him and his 3 sons,
Mhm.
he definitely feels like the one that will, prevent mass murders and
Mhm.
and just horrible things from happening. Because from what I understood, they were just how were they criminals? They gambling.
Gambling, a little bit of prostitution, and unions. The main ones are gambling and unions. Because yeah, the unions used to be incredibly corrupt, and I'm not saying that they're not now. I'm just saying that everyone knew it back then.
All right. So, they're not doing the worst thing in the world. I mean, they're taking advantage of a broken system.
Yeah, but he's like, no drugs. Drugs is bad for society.
Yeah, like he refuses to do work with another gang because they're doing drugs. He's like, no, I'm not gonna help you because drugs is not a good look, and my politicians will leave me.
Mm.
And I just think he thinks it's bad for society in general.
Yeah.
But even then, he's willing to later on in the movie, he's willing to bend those thoughts, bend those beliefs he had in order to keep the peace. And he's willing to change with the times in order to make things work out.
Mhm.
But then his son comes along, the one Michael, that's his name, right?
Mhm,
Michael comes along, and you can just tell it's all about getting things done. It's not about keeping the family together or having people love you and stuff. I don't think he cared as much about
I mean,
that.
he had family killed. He had his brother-in-law killed.
Yeah, I don't think he cares as much, which is kind of the dangerous thing. He's kind of running by fear and that respect that comes from fear. Whereas the Godfather, the OG, really made you want to like, okay, I'm willing to work for this dude. He's not going to kill me as long as I just do my part. And he's not going to ask me to do anything ridiculous. He might not ask me to do anything at all. He just wants my support. So I like his character a lot.
Yeah. As moving on to Michael, what you were saying there, he's I mean, as a ginger, as somebody who's an expert in this, I can 100% say Michael is one of the most soulless people I've ever seen in a movie. He is cold. He only cares about the family, not his family, the family. Just this organized crime, this idea of I will do whatever it takes. I will make sure we are safe. I'll make sure we are secure. But if that means, oh, I need to kill somebody, I need to kill my brother-in-law, even though I just had stood as godfather to his kid like 3 minutes ago. Okay, we'll have him killed. Nothing, just emptiness behind his eyes. He is it. The comparison you were making to Breaking Bad earlier. I think it's incredible that Breaking Bad in 5 seasons did to Walter White what this movie was able to do to Michael Corleone in 3 hours. Because at the beginning of the movie, I'm sure maybe he's not the most open, warm guy, but you can see, oh no, there's a person in there. I'm not my family, Kay. That's not me. I don't kill family. I'm not that kind of person. And then by the end, not only is he that kind of person, he's worse. He's like, he understands that it's bad. He's like, okay, I'll do it. Yeah, he is worse. It's Michael he's like evil incarnate, a great character, and yeah, soulless.
Yeah, so how does that happen? I was a little confused with why he turned evil. Because he turns evil because they shoot his dad and he wants revenge.
So it's not personal, it's strictly business, remember? The reason
That's what he said,
yeah.
but I wasn't totally convinced.
So the reason he sets up that meeting is because Salazzo, the guy who was behind the shooting of his dad, he said, as long as he's alive, they're going to keep coming for our dad until he's dead. So I need to cut the head off the snake.
Okay.
And that cop who's dirty is protecting him. I need to take him down too.
So it really is like Walter White, because
Yeah.
he does it because of that, and then he kind of realizes I'm good at this.
And then it's
And
not
then
that he enjoys it, but he realizes these other people aren't good at it. I need to do it.
Okay. Because Walter White, he admits at the end of the series, like, I'm doing this because I like it.
Yeah.
Because I'm good at it. And this guy is just like, you're saying that he's just like, well, nobody else is very good at it, so I'm gonna do it. I think maybe he does enjoy it. He enjoys being good at something. You know, every man likes respect, but I don't think he cares much for love.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily he enjoys it in the traditional sense of yes, finally, this is the good life. But just once he has that taste of power, he can't let go of it. He has to have it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and see, I do agree in a very Shakespearean way. It's very much a good tragic fall of the character. Personally, I think Walter White is better as far as because they take more time with it.
Yeah.
But the benefit of even just the 3 hours, it really does show a pretty good transgression there because of just seeing how he goes from the soldier, war decorated hero, to mafia leader. And the only thing I do kind of wish is that we could have saw him pre-war and just what he was like kind of growing up. And maybe that's something they showed. I haven't seen the third one,
Yeah,
but
you see it briefly in the second one at the
Yeah.
very end, but it's one scene and it's just before he goes to war.
exactly. He's just barely in there. So, but for me, it does a pretty good job because much like Macbeth, it doesn't go into all the details. We see more of the motivations for why Macbeth wants to be king, why he thinks he should be king. Whereas with Michael, it's very much I'm a soldier. This is what needs to happen now. So I'm just going to do it. And then it does kind of lead into this. I do kind of like this power situation, which happens to any man, really. I mean, you start giving just even a little bit of power to somebody, they might either learn how to control it or abuse it. And in this case, Michael learned how to abuse it.
What do you think of Michael, Robert?
Yeah, I agree. He is soulless. It's funny because in the beginning, I kind of was like, okay, he seems like the good one of the family. But then then when I see him down in Mexico after he kills those guys, like he kills those guys. Sicily. Yeah, they speak Spanish. Brendan's over like, I'll kill you.
They speak Italian, but
It's whatever. I don't know. I was okay. Here's a confession. Okay, so when I started watching the movie, I was just like, I'm just watching the movie. I got to do something. That's just how I am. I have to do something while I'm watching something. It wasn't towards to an hour in. I was like, okay, stop playing the game. What's going on? Let's watch this. But the parts I did see when he was out of the country, I was Sicily.
Yes.
His absolute demand for things. I was like, I really don't like this guy. Like when he marries was he a baker?
Apollonia is a local man's daughter. He does it so that the man will protect him because he puts the man and his now wife in danger, just so that the man will stay on his side. Will keep an eye out for him.
Yeah, so it's like the moment he demands that he's gonna marry that guy's daughter, I was like, oh, I had respect for you, but now it's all gone because I thought you were the better man.
No, he was, but not anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, I do agree. I do like myself a good tragedy, and I kind of like what they did with the character, but I definitely don't like him.
Yeah. All right. What about our thoughts on Sunny? Do you feel a little warmer towards Sunny? I had to.
Boo! I wish I had a button.
Who let Chet lead?
Go.
Brendan did.
We don't need you anymore.
So which one's Sonny? Sonny is the eldest brother.
The one who's James Caan, yeah. Buddy the Elf's dad.
Yeah.
All right.
So there are some aspects I do like about him as a character. he does care about the family, obviously, not just the mafia family, but also his own family, except his wife.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because she seems like she's decent. I don't know. We don't spend. That's the other fault I have with this. The first movie, the second movie delves a little more. The women are just there, and that's okay because it's not their story. It's the story of Michael and Vito, really, and Sonny and well, not really Frito, but
Yeah.
But anyhow, I would say I do like that he is passionate about his family in general. I do like that he wants to protect them, but he's irrational. He is kind of an idiot. He's very much a reactionary, which, as we've talked about in previous episodes, is not always the best thing for a character. But because of that, in fact, pulling the Batman, I would say if anyone is a Sunny character, it's Catwoman in the Batman. She's very much a Frito, where she's very protective about her friends, family, but is willing to do whatever it takes to get vengeance.
Even if it's not smart.
Even if it's not smart.
I wouldn't say that Sonny's not a smart character, but he very easily throws his instinct or his his thinking mind to the wind. It's like one of his suggestions when his father's gunned down is we need to hit him hard. We need to kill all the members of the 5 families. I don't care what the consequences are. That was a bad idea to do it then.
Yes.
But that was Michael's masterstroke. His genius plan was to do exactly what Sonny was suggesting, but to do it later when no one was expecting it. And so, both of them had good instincts. It's just Sonny didn't have the control that you need to have if you're going to wield power. He would have just been a loose cannon, and as a loose cannon, he got himself killed. I mean, he did something predictable. He told his brother-in-law, who was beating his wife, Sonny's sister, like, hey, if you ever touch my sister again, I'll kill you. So he beats her again, and then the brother-in-law figures, oh, he's going to kill me. He's probably going to take this route. I'll call up these guys and tell them to kill him now because, hey, he's going to be out in the open. And so his predictability, his anger, led him to him being killed. I think were it not for the way he treats his wife, because he's not faithful to her. Other than that, he could almost be described as the tragic hero of this, in that he is a good person with faults that lead him not to become evil, but faults that lead him to die, thus leading the evil person to take control.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a Game of Thrones, Jon Snow's older brother there.
Robb Stark, yeah.
Robb Stark, where at least he made a promise and he didn't keep it, which is basically the same thing there. So that's just what came to mind.
Yeah.
All right,
You want to talk about Sonny?
Yeah, Sonny's cool.
He's cool.
He has a fist that can punch somebody even if it doesn't make contact.
I appreciated that he was the one beating up on his sister's abuser. And I really wanted to.
It's not like his dad who would send that to do it.
Yeah, I mean he does his own dirty work. There's a lot of respect for Sonny, I think, but there are some fatal flaws, where he might, in his mind, if he doesn't go kill his brother-in-law in that moment, he's not being a good guy. He's not being a good man. He's not being a good brother. But in Michael's head or the Godfather's head, it's to them in that moment it'd be more, okay, let's calm down, let's do something smart, let's plan this out, and we'll take him out, or we'll get him out of the family, we'll ship him to Europe, we'll do something, But this guy, I think he's very reactionary, like you guys are saying. He's just a little crazy.
It was his lack of control that actually got his father almost killed in the first place. Because at that meeting where the guy's like, hey, you want to get into the drug business? The dad says, look, I respect you. Not really something we're looking to get into. But the son says, oh, but we could do it. And he's like, hey. Don't listen to him. That outburst caused the guy to realize, oh, we just killed the dad. He takes over. He's willing to get into the drug trade. And so that was what kicked the events of the plot into motion. His inability to keep his mouth shut.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things in this movie. Just overall, just a lot of things I bet on rewatch or studies of it. You can see that there's a lot of mind games going on, which I just found fascinating when I was watching it. Like I think I really enjoyed this movie, and other than the editing, which I can't really blame it for.
And some parts are really well done. Other parts, they're a little janky.
Yeah, it's just like they're eating food and you can hear the plates clatter and clatter, clatter, clatter. Cuts to another guy and he starts talking. No plates clattering. It's just like completely silent in the background.
They all stop and just like, all right, somebody's speaking. Let them have silence in the other room.
Yeah.
Even stage plays don't do that.
It was, there was just a couple of scenes. Like there was one scene where I thought they were cutting to like another scene, but there was just a shot. They're still in the same room having the same conversation. And I literally thought it was cutting to a whole new scene, just a different time in the movie. But I was super confused. I was like, oh, we're still in the same scene.
Reminds me of another movie, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Sokka and guitar. I'm watching you, M. Night.
Yeah,
I think you mean Ong.
yeah, when your movie
So
takes
bad.
a step back in editing like 4 or 5 decades, not exactly a great sign.
No.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's a subject for another time. Want to talk about Fredo?
Yes,
Sure.
let's talk about Fredo. He's so forgettable.
Well, he's not in this movie much. He has a big role in the second one.
Yeah, I was gonna say in the second film he plays a much larger role. I forgot, like this was the first time I watched it. I forgot who he was by the time we came back to him, honestly, because he's kind of like, well, really in let's see, I'm even forgetting this character's name from another show from Game of Thrones. The
Theon Greyjoy,
no, not Theon. The youngest brother.
Rickon.
Totally forgot he was a thing for a while.
Yep.
And that's just basically the best way to describe Fredo in this movie is he's there. He doesn't have much of a presence, just a little bit. And whenever he is, you kind of think he's kind of pathetic. He's not much like his father. Maybe more like his mother. Once again, don't really know her. But he is very kind, which, as Jed was describing, is one of the attributes that Vito has. He's a very kind Don in general. So, yeah, not a huge fan just because there's not much to talk about. He's pretty bland.
Something that you see a lot more of in the sequel, but you do see the seeds of here. Fredo, for me, embodies, I don't remember the wording exactly, but it's a quote from Jordan Peterson about how a man who is not dangerous is one of the most dangerous things out there. You see how this helpless, pathetic man, who's sure he's nice and kind and all that, but you see how his weakness directly leads to that conflict with Mo Green, where, okay, we have to kill him now if we want to get that casino, if we want to be able to survive as a family. It was directly because Fredo had no spine. He was not dangerous. He had no bite to him. And you see that have even worse consequences in the next one. That's a large part of the plot of the next one. But in here, you see someone, it's good to be nice, but if that's all you are, then not only are you not going to really thrive or survive in this world, you're a menace to everyone around you. My thoughts on Fredo.
Yeah, I didn't think a whole lot about this dude. I didn't realize he was a brother until later on. Kind of like what Aaron was saying. Like to be completely honest, I thought the dude with the only blonde dude in the whole movie,
Tom Hagen.
Yeah, that dude, Tom Hagen.
Yeah,
I thought he was one of the brothers.
I mean, he's an adopted brother. We'll talk about him in a sec.
Oh, he is adopted.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're not far.
Okay. Yeah, I thought he was one of the main 3 brothers. So I was, when they came up and they came to that scene where they're at the casino and he says, I know you're my older brother. I love you. I was like, wait, he's the older brother.
Yeah.
It's like, slow down.
Doesn't act like it.
No.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. So for Fredo, I, like Aaron, there just wasn't enough time with him. Maybe when I see the second one, I'll appreciate him more, but I don't know. He just seemed kind of like the weak guy,
Yeah.
Got pushed around, yeah, I don't have much about him.
Robert, what do you think about Fredo?
It's really funny because I thought he was going to play a bigger role because I hear on all these buddy cop shows or anything involving mobs in any other movie or TV show, they mention the Fredo of the family. And I'm like, okay, now I get to finally see what this Fredo's all about. He's at a casino in Nevada.
Yeah.
What's wrong with Fredo? So I have no idea, but I did go in expecting to learn more about this because I hear all the pop culture references to like, oh, this guy's like the Fredo of the group. We can get him to help us get into the mob. I'm quoting Brooklyn Nine-Nine if anyone's wondering.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I've been kind of making a mental list of those pop culture references, but we can get to that after we get through these other characters.
Yeah, he's at least in this movie, he's just kind of a forgettable loser. There's a quote from the next one that I love that you two haven't heard yet, but you may have heard it before. He's the kind of character who everyone's like, come on, everyone's no one's giving me a chance to succeed, but come on, I'm smart, I can do this.
He says that?
Yeah, he's like, I'm smart.
And everyone laughs and knows it's not true.
Well, he is, but it's only making him more pathetic because he's not saying, I'm going to do this. It's like, give me a chance, please.
Oh, yeah.
Begging.
Unlike his younger brother, who just does the job.
Yeah.
He's asking like, hey, please let me hire me, please.
Yeah. Where Sonny, he's I'm gonna do this, and Michael is, this is what we're going to do. Sonny's like, can I do something?
No, you extra.
And then the next movie, did I do that?
Oh God, yeah. Maybe we'll talk about Godfather 2 someday. But yeah, Sonny or Fredo, he's the forgettable loser. All right, last character I wanted to mention, unless anyone had any other thoughts on Fredo.
No.
All right, you touched on him earlier. What do you think of Tom Hagen?
He's cool. I actually like him. I thought he would be a better successor to the Godfather, except maybe he doesn't have the smarts. He knows what you should and shouldn't do, but he's not perhaps the best at coming up with these brilliant schemes to, overthrow the other families. But he's the number two guy. He's my number one guy.
He's the consigliere.
He's the Bob from the Batman movie. He's the number one guy. You can rely on him to do whatever you want. And he's smart. And, he's there listening to all the meetings at the beginning of the wedding. And the Godfather's like, okay, go take care of this, take so-and-so, and take so-and-so. Like, the Godfather doesn't have to tell him what to do specifically because he's not stupid. He just figures it out. He knows what the Godfather wants. So I think he's a great, sort of sidekick or a number one guy, whatever. So I thought he was really cool. That's pretty much it.
I agree with you. He definitely is the smartest character, not just because he's gone to the most schooling, he's a lawyer, but I think the reason why he wouldn't make a good Don, a good successor, his key weakness is he is the most averse to risk out of any of them. That's why he's told, look, you're not a good wartime consigliere because in war you have to take risks.
Yeah, right. Like he's not good at scheming. I think he just knows what the risks are. I think that's good.
Yeah, like Michael understands those risks and he's like, I understand the dangers. This is what we're going to do in spite of the dangers. Whereas Tom is like, we can't do this. It's too risky. This is the safer route. It's like, it's the safer route, and it's the safer route that's going to make you the weakest family around.
Which is perfect for what he is.
He's a lawyer. He's there to mitigate damage and risk.
Yeah, as a number one guy, you shouldn't be doing things the boss would be surprised you're going to do. You should be doing things that are safe and nothing that's like, oh, guess what I did? I went to Winterfell.
Winterfell?
Yeah.
Winterfell.
I went to Winterfell and took over the castle, just like in Game of Thrones. It's like, yeah, that seemed like a great idea, but that was a horrible idea.
You didn't think it through. What you'd have to do to keep it,
Like this guy, this Tom guy. Is his name Tom or is that the actor?
The actor is Robert Duvall. The character is Tom Hagen.
Tom Hagen. Yeah, this Tom Hagen guy, I feel like he would do things by the book. And if you had a plan that was crazy, he would do that by the book.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. I just gotta say, Robert Duvall looks great with hair.
Back when he still had it.
Back when he still had it.
I don't think he did. I think they put like a little
He might have.
He had hair a few years earlier in To Kill a Mockingbird. Bruce Boo Radley.
Oh, that's right.
That was his very first movie. Yeah.
Forgot about that. But yeah, no, I thought he had great hair. I think he's a good businessman overall. And had he inherited it, I think that's what would have happened. He would have legitimized it, which is something that it's always been a struggle for mobs to do. And it's understandable. Very shady past. It's hard to let go of all that power. But he's willing to do that so long as business is still thriving and the family is successful. He doesn't care so much about being the top dog.
Like he would have made a great business CEO or a great politician.
Yeah.
But in a world where murder is something that not only are you going to have to do, you're going to have to know your opponents are going to try and do that too. He's too risk averse.
Yep. Exactly. And you guys basically cover it all. I think he's a decent character. Like I said, though, all of them could be hanged, and I wouldn't feel too bad because they're criminals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're racist. Holy cow!
Oh yeah, this movie is super racist towards everyone.
And they're racist. There's everybody. It doesn't matter what you are, even towards themselves.
Yeah. Hey Robert, what do you think of our Kraut McFriend? She's called that by a racist in the movie.
Well, considering I'm 1/8, I don't care because I'm also 1/16 Jewish. So woohoo! Yeah, you guys said every time hanging. Moving on.
All right, good ditto there.
Good job.
All right, I think those are all the the main characters. Connie's important too. Kay is definitely important, but they don't have a huge impact on the plot of the movie.
No.
So
Can we
unless
just-
y'all had something. What was that?
Can we just say the sister had a rotten deal?
Oh,
Yeah, she did.
I was
Easily.
so happy when the brother got beaten up, and then just to find out he got killed, I was like, okay, there's something redeemable about her life.
If you want to watch Rocky as a kind of sequel to it, you say, it's okay. She lives happily ever after. She marries Rocky.
Yeah. Actually, she married Rocky. It's good.
Yeah. Okay. Something I wanted to talk about because I know that we all have, kind of mixed feelings about this. Godfather was revolutionary. Godfather is an important landmark in cinema. Do we think it holds up today?
Are you talking about some of the racist comments? No.
No, not the racist comments, but do you think modern audiences could, if they never watch it, they'll be able to sit down and be just as engrossed and taken by it as people in 1972 were?
Okay, so yeah, I guess it really depends on the audience. If it is Marvel fans, no, there's no way. No, because it's too slow. And that's not me saying that because I don't like slower paced films or TV shows. I do. I watch things from the 70s, 60s, and occasionally maybe even the 1920s. If I can find a silent film, I'm willing to watch it. But those are pretty fast paced, actually.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think mainstream audiences would enjoy it as much. Just the way that it's filmed now. If it was upgraded a little bit with some of those edits that Brandon was talking about, maybe, but not like it because with all the action that's in media now and just this fast storytelling, I think that this wouldn't be a film for them. Even people complain about Lord of the Rings, which has lots of action.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say no. I don't think mainstream would like it.
My general thought is, I think that if you call yourself a movie fan, you absolutely have to watch this movie and you will almost definitely love it. But if you're just, somebody who oh yeah, I like movies. I don't know, sure. What's my favorite movie? I don't know. You just name a movie you saw recently, then I don't know if you're going to like this movie. Not because it's not good or not appealing or all these different things. It is an investment, not just an investment in time, but it's okay, I'm going to sit down and I have to think about this as I'm watching it. I have to think about it after I'm done watching it. It's not something that's meant to be easily digestible. And so if you're just someone who casually likes movies, I wouldn't even say if you're somebody who casually likes film, because this is you like movies, you appreciate film, you call yourself a cinephile. You don't have to be someone who's my favorite movie is this obscure French surreal movie. But if you're someone who appreciates film and what it can do, I think you'll like it. If you're someone who's I like movies, you're not going to see why do people care?
Yeah, I think what we're all coming to is just it depends on who's watching it. But if we're talking about a general audience, I think that's the question, right?
Yeah.
The general audience would like it.
General audience today, at least.
Today,
Because it's weird to think this movie at one point was the highest grossing movie ever.
Yeah. Like I liked it, and I wouldn't say I'm like super into movies. Like you can tell, I don't know all the actors' names or whatever. I didn't even know all the characters' names in this movie.
Yeah.
You know, but I still really like this movie.
Mhm.
So that can go to show that I think a lot of people would like it. They'd sit down and appreciate it. I think it would go better with young adults and older. Because if a teenager sat down and watched it, it might be a little bit too slow.
Yeah. A little too dry.
And it is a movie made for adults. So I think yeah, it might stand out still today. And just if people are given the context of when this was made, and that's why some of the editing might be janky, or why there's some off-color comments in it. And it is a period piece.
Yeah, it's a movie that takes place in the 40s, filmed in the 70s. Not everything is going to have aged great.
Yeah. So as long as people took that into mind, had an open mind, I think a lot of people would like this still.
Robert, you decide. Did it live up to the hype?
I mean, it did once it sucked me in, but I think I would fall underneath this general audience thing personally, because I'm not kind of like Brandon. I'm not a huge movie buff. Like I don't know everything about movies. I don't watch French films. Sorry. But for me, like I was kind of bored in the beginning. Not gonna lie. I heard his voice and I was like, I can't understand you. So I was like, sorry. Say that one more time. I didn't have the captions on, but I mean, I eventually picked up what he was saying. But like, I'm watching it, and the first like hour, I was playing video games while watching it, because it's like, okay, well, I better watch it. Jed told me to watch it. I better watch it. So I was ended up playing video games. It wasn't until I got in like an hour in, I was like, okay, I'm listening. Continue. What happened? Rewind. What happened? So I think in modern day audience, it wouldn't cut the box office, but I think it could for young adults, could still get them in once they watch the first part. They watch it the first time, I can imagine it people watching it again and again.
Yeah, one of the things that I don't think is aged well, but I think is really interesting to look back on it. It's like the first, I think it's exactly like 40 minutes of the movie is not about the plot. It's nothing but world building. Typically, when you hear world building, it's like in Lord of the Rings or this sci-fi epic or something like that. Not a crime movie, not something that takes place in our world. But it's not our world. It is a specific slice of our world that almost none of us have experience with. And so those first 40 minutes, let's give you a kind of idea what these characters are like, what their interactions are like, what their world, their business, their interactions with everyone, what their worries are, their fears, their goals, what that's like. Once it's been 40 minutes and you get all that, as soon as the guy wakes up in bed with the horse's head, that's when the movie starts. Yeah. And so if you're willing to sit there and like, okay, this is interesting. This is interesting. This is interesting. I'm not interested in the movie, but this is interesting. If you're willing to get through that, I think the rest of it, you'll be helped by it.
Yeah.
That is a good example of my broken humor, because I saw the horse head and I was like this. I was like, oh man, nay. And then I was like, I'm an idiot.
Like it's horrifying, but you also cope by laughing. It is funny.
His screams were hilarious. Like,
It's funny you say that, because that's actually in a movie that references it. Tom Hanks actually references that scene specifically in You've Got Mail. You know, he's talking about there's a horse in the bed, and he's like, oh, 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 and he's doing that. And it's funny. I do enjoy that. But no, I agree. And something that this film benefits from, because it is made in the 70s, up to that point, if you look at movies that are kind of referencing the 60s or 40s and earlier, they do have those slower pace. And so there's that world building of this is what you've seen in previous films, a wedding, party, family, all these things. And so so for audiences, especially back then during the 70s, this is a familiar sight, except it's in color. And then seeing the vibrant red blood on his hands, it definitely takes you, oh, it's, oh, what is this?
Mhm.
But for modern audiences, I can see why.
Oh no,
That would, yeah, it'll be like, that's paint. You know, or oh, that looks like a horror film blood or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, the blood's fake. The blood's really fake.
It look, you know, but it's also very vibrant. So, you know, it works really well for that time. I do think if one were to condense the film a little bit for modern audiences, I do agree. I do think that it would definitely help, because as soon as I say name a certain film, whether it's Godfather or Casablanca, they say, you know, someone younger will say, well, when was that released? Oh, that was in the early 1900s, you know, 1930, 40, 60. Then they, oh, it's an old movie. So therefore it can't be good. And it's a shame because no, actually, there's a lot of great films during those times.
A lot of exciting, fast-paced films from those
Yeah,
times.
it's just all these kids who hate their parents, they don't want to watch
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's just like a joke.
Some
But
kid, I'm turning into my dad.
yeah, no, if you can't, I think people should be able to appreciate older movies. This one's definitely a classic. It definitely sets a lot of tropes, and it takes you back to a different time. You know, even with off-colored comments in it, it kind of, I don't know how realistic that is, but maybe it was realistic for the 70s. Maybe it was worse in the 40s. When the movie's actually based. But it's important to look at history, whether it's just the movie making aspect or just the period piece aspect. And it's just, I think it's really important to look at that and just kind of see where things come from. You know, I think history in general is important. And you can also look at the bad things and be like, oh, well, I don't think they should edit things like that anymore. And, you know, a couple years later, made Star Wars, masterpiece. You can still watch it today. You can show it to little kids. They'll love it. You know, I think that's definitely a crowd pleaser still. But yeah, I don't know why I started talking about this. I just
No.
No,
Everything you were saying was great.
No, it very much fit into the, you know, can this fit with general audiences or not? You're saying, you're bringing up a great point. Star Wars still is.
Yeah.
So maybe it can be.
Yeah. I think this is a great time capsule of a film, because it shows that Al Pacino can do a movie without being really over the top. It's very understated and subtle. You can say, oh, look, Diane Keaton. She wasn't always a weirdo hippie lady. She's actually really nice and pretty.
Yes.
You can say Marlon Brando is really
Brando.
weird guy, but the weirdness works with his character in this movie. Robert Duvall used to have hair. All these different things. Like James Caan, like no one thinks of James Caan as like, oh my gosh, what a hunk. I cannot tell you how many women I've seen watch The Godfather for the first time, like, Buddy the Elf's dad is hot. I don't get it, but it's hilarious to watch it.
You can't see it, but Grace made a face when she said that, so it was kind of funny.
all she heard was, he's hot.
Hold on.
Yeah, I definitely, you know, to kind of wrap up my thoughts, I would recommend it to everyone who likes movies, everyone who you know, likes American culture or whatever. If not because you'll love it, but because it's important and you should see, you know, this important piece of history.
Yeah, I would just conclude my thoughts. I already rambled a couple seconds ago, but yeah, I think it's a really good movie for its time. It's a masterpiece, and for now in our day and age, I think it's still has very compelling character arcs, and the lighting is really good, and the story is really good, and I think it's important to look at. Like it's not like life or death important. It's just important if you want to see where a lot of the influences come from.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. No, even as someone who doesn't love the film, like I don't hate it. It's just
Peter Griffin. It insists upon itself.
Exactly, it insists upon itself. No, it's more of the neutral kind of towards it, because I do see the appeal, and I do see the understanding of the negativity there. But you know, just focusing on just the neutral side is, yeah, I agree. It's very much a time capsule film, and I do think that if you are a cinephile, this is something that you might enjoy a lot, or you might just love the appreciation of the 1940s and you like to explore what the criminal side of the world would look like during that time, or how it influences films later. Just and since I'm talking about that, just Simpsons, Family Guy, Community, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Seinfeld, even How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
I mean, and the list could continue on. I'm sure I'm missing like dozens more because I haven't watched every show on the face. Oh, You've Got Mail.
Yeah.
There's just so many because it is, for whatever reason, maybe it's a fluke, maybe it is just this awesome masterpiece that I look at and think it's just a woman smiling. And that's okay, because you recognize that art is something that is going to either push or pull you or does nothing for you. I can appreciate how it has influenced later works, especially something like Breaking Bad, which I like a lot. So yeah, that's kind of my neutral view towards it. I think if you like that type of style, awesome.
Yeah, I would just say for me, for a lot of movies, for me, it's always one scene that makes me love it or hate it. I can always go back to that scene, remember why I loved it. And for this movie, it's when the wife realizes that he's a messed up dude.
That very ending scene.
Yeah, the very, very end, right before the credits.
The door closing. It's super famous. It's incredible.
It's insane. If that was not in there, I think the movie would have lost a lot of value for me.
It's the perfect ending point.
Because it really shows you how far he's gone. But as the audience, you watch it, and as you think about it, you're like, he wasn't a good dude, even at the beginning. He's just let loose a little. Like in Breaking
Showing
Bad.
his true self.
Yeah, he's just being himself. In Breaking Bad, they allude to that as well with Walter White, but
like you can see the resentment underneath him, but he's not gonna do anything about it.
Yeah, he's kind of a weak man, but you really get the feeling he's kind of a good dude at the beginning. But then as the series goes on, you're like, he was kind of messed up at the beginning too, which really, that shows more about maybe how a normal guy can become evil if he lets the evil part of him take over. This show is, some people are just evil, and all it takes is a little bit to just let them loose. I don't know.
All it takes is a little push.
All it takes is a little push. Gravity will take over. Okay, Robert, what do you think?
Yeah, give your closing thoughts. Close us out here. Bring it home.
My closing thoughts is, especially if you want to be able to tell stories in the future, if you want to be able to be a cinematographer, this movie is a great way to learn. Because we talked about why the cinematography is so good. We've talked about why the story is so influences so much pop culture nowadays. So for closing, you should watch it. I originally I was kind of like, whatever, sure, but now it's like, okay, I need to finish this movie. First off, I'm like the last half hour.
Like a loser, Robert didn't finish it. Oh my gosh. I mean,
I quit.
His tie broke.
I had so many ties that just fell from this rock.
So Robert has had a very interesting last few days that's kept him from finishing the movie. Yes. But now you can finish the movie and you can see this glorious ending that Brendan especially loves so much.
Yeah, I like it. It's good.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are in it for like the education purposes, it's definitely worth the watch. You'll learn a lot. If you're just a random bloke like I am, watch it anyways because I was told to and I did and it worked.
Watch it once.
Yes.
Yeah, at least watch it once because I mean chances are of me watching it again are not too high, but I might. It's not a definite no.
No, like this is one of my favorite movies, and just watching it with the other day, this was only my fourth time watching it. It's not exactly the kind of movie you just pop in on an afternoon if you're bored.
Nope. Yeah, you have to pay attention.
All right, we ready to close?
Yeah. Am I in charge of that?
Yeah, you are now.
I'm in charge of that. Well, thanks everyone for coming on. Hope you liked the discussion about The Godfather. Let us know what you think about this movie. And if you haven't seen it, let us know if you want to watch it now. And if not, let us know as well.
Yeah.
Remember to like the video and subscribe if you are cool.
Just going to say, for those of you who might be uncomfortable with an R-rated movie, it is on VidAngel. So if you have VidAngel, go ahead and give it a watch.
Yeah, you can just rent it, and VidAngel will process it through, and it will just go according to your settings.
Yeah.
We wish VidAngel was supporting us, but they're not. So this is an endorsement, but we're just giving you viewable options. But yeah, also, if you like comics, if you like to read stories that are set in the 1930s, 1940s, there is a new series that I have just started to release. It is called Tuna on Pretzels, or on Webtoons, excuse me. Pretzels is the other comic I'm working on. But the first episode has just released. It is Toonla. That's Toonela, which is actually the Finnish underworld in mythology. So go ahead and check that out. And every episode will be released once a month. So there's that for you.
All right. Thank you for watching.
All right, we'll sign off and we'll see you next time. Take care.